Siri, can you activate the release day clause? Yes, thank you. It has been, of course, there and thereabouts. The rain pain again continues as India Pakistan will go into that reserve day, boys. Just talk to me. It's shocking. Kusum, you called it, and Colombo and the weather just does. It's relentless, man.
Yeah, I mean, this tournament is turning into a damn squib. The only thing is, I mean, I'm not sure if, I mean, they have added a reserve day, but I don't really agree with starting from here. Then again, you never know. There are chances of rain tomorrow as well. Why not just cut this innings short here and but just give Pakistan, I mean, just have them target the bare minimum game. Just have the, I mean, if the game would have started today at around 10:30, they would have given Pakistan a target for 20 overs. I think instead of going the full Monty tomorrow, they should ideally be doing it if they really want a result. Otherwise, I mean, you never know. I mean, it will be such a big disappointment that tomorrow the game starts, but still after, I mean, only India's full 50 overs is possible. After that it starts raining again. So there'll be no point wasting two days for virtually nothing.
But in these 140, I nearly thought I muted myself because like the Gurkirat bug has just been nearly biting me off late. But Nix, in the 145 balls we've seen, there's been a lot of like from an Indian fan. That opening stand, let's start there. Did you like the approach from Rohit and Gill? Quite brilliant.
Where I think I told you it was going to be risk reward, and Gill had the reward very first ball, and that's what you need, right? We talked about this that when you're facing two people at the top of their powers, you will need some luck. So
Yeah.
luck's cozy, as I call it, worked. अपना luck पहन के चलो. That's what Gill was doing there, and the good thing was they did not allow the bad balls to get away unpunished, and that is what you want to see. That is what makes Shaheen Afridi go change his angle, and that is the thing. If you are able to make Shaheen Afridi change his angle in his very first spell, it tells you you've got into his mind. And I don't think Shaheen had the best of starts, just like he didn't in the first game where he was drifting onto the pads, not quite always hitting the right lines. So I think India made the most of that, and that's what you want to see going forward as well. That you maintain this approach that okay, you'll bowl a good ball, we'll defend no problem. But if you are, we are not going to have half measures and we'll go for full Monty. It works out, it works out. At least we tried. I think that first over that Rohit Sharma played of Shadab Khan, such a refresher. It's been such a long time that you've seen somebody hit just disdainfully. There is no half measures there, and it's okay to get out in that prospect as well. But you are making a statement that you're not going to let bad balls get away.
Yeah, and Somesh is still smiling from that Rohit over. He got 28 runs with the 10 balls he faced of Shadab today. You must have been happy watching that in office, so.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, what a knock, what a partnership that was. I mean, against arguably the best bowling attack in the world in conditions that was slightly favoring the bowling team. Uh, I mean, it'll be a struggle for me to remember as good a opening partnership for India in a while now. Talking about Rohit, yeah, again, very good knock. He was little subdued against Naseem. Everyone was. He faced a lot of Naseem at the to start off with, but then again, I mean, like Nicholas said, him against Shadab was almost. I mean, as if he treated him like a, I don't know, one of us maybe bowling to him. Uh, but then again, Rohit Sharma is the king of unfulfilled glorious knocks. I mean, that shot was never supposed to carry. It didn't carry. He was out. And after that, I mean, the two players got together who you wouldn't fancy, playing together, especially when there is spin bowling from one end. So yeah, but I mean, it top knock from Rohit.
Brilliant knock. I mean, we'll show you some depictions in terms of pitch maps about the Pakistani paces and whatnot. But Vikram Mohanty, Pranav Anand, Greg, Ishwar, all you guys, Vasant good to see you all. And I'll take your questions and insights and comments. Promise you that. It's going to be a short but sweet show, but we'll, of course, cater to everyone's needs. Speaking of those pitch maps that I alluded to, Nix, I just want to show a couple right now. Now, you need an element of luck. And Rohit, of course, got that in this over from Wasim. He was quite brilliant on the money, just at that length spot. Another pitch map where we can see is Shadab after drinks, which we'll come to and you guys already spoke about. And the final one that we want to show you is, of course, that Rohit over, which is just quite brilliant. Could Pakistan have done anything differently? Because India actually took them by surprise. I know they had their luck go a little bit their way, but still brilliant, right?
Yeah, I think they see. We talked about giving shorter spells, and that's what happened. Once Shaheen was hit, it was bound that there was going to be a change from that end, and you immediately saw Fahim come in and just use the deck far more than Shaheen because Shaheen was looking for swing, so naturally he was going to go a bit more fuller. So, in terms of the options that they had, I don't think they could have done something else. Naseem should have had Gill caught. Just went between Ifti and who else was there? I forget the guy who's standing next to him. But those chances are the ones that you want to take because when you, it's like that, it's like that Shamilan that you're bowling good, bowling good. The one that gets the edge is one that you want to take. So I think that is something that they they would have wanted to take. And on the offside, they should definitely need to look at Rizwan's appealing. I don't know if it gets to
Yeah,
others, but it definitely gets to me.
100%. Me too. I mean, it's horrible to watch. And the point is, your keeper cannot be that erratic because you're going to suffer in the long run with the reviews. And I think I mean, the point, I think it was Iftikhar and Shadab at the first and second slip.
Maybe.
Yeah. There's a good question about Shaheen's slower ball. Then again, I in the preview I was alluding to that Akib Javed interview where he actually it's not an interview, it's basically some quotes and discussions from Akib Javed that Sandeep Dwivedi has turned into a good piece. He's spoken about how I mean it's in the wrist basically. So with Shaheen, when he bowls his slower ball, the action or the arm speed does not change at all. Whatever subtle differences that he creates through the ball, it is coming from his wrists. So that's the great part.
And he's already got two good people out there. He got Hardik out in the same manner, drifting a ball just wide of him and luring him into the shot. And I think Gill just did not expect it at all. So I think it is still something that Gill probably should have avoided, given that he was set, but a good ball and got its due reward.
You know what? I really like the fact that KL Rahul actually looked pretty good out there. I know he played a maiden of Shadab and people will criticize him for that, but generally looked very good. I think guys in the chat as well are agreeing. Jaideep Gajera, KL looked in great charge. Absolutely. And good signs for India because KL, for me, is a slot in. I know it's just the injury, which of course made it seem like he was not in the scheme of things. And keep your comments coming through. Really, really appreciate all you guys right now joining us. If you're new, of course, Sohangi, I don't know. Subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much. You've made my day. And of course, DK going on to say it was Aga
Yeah,
Salman
so
at second
maybe
slip.
it was. I mean, I don't know why I remember it to be Shadab. There was Iftikhar for sure, if I'm not
Yeah,
mistaken,
if they
and then
got
the
for
other
sure.
one maybe. Yeah.
Now, guys, of course, the release a day clause is activated. Now, Chachant makes a good point. If they play tomorrow and if it actually goes down to a tiring day, how much does that sap them out for Tuesday's contest against Sri Lanka? Nikhil?
Maybe then you can make many more changes, right? You can rest Bumrah, play Prasid, rest Siraj, play Shami also. The back spasm may disappear suddenly. Release play laga diya hoga, so the back spasm will also go away. So you'll get to see things, but there is rain forecast. So as I said earlier, I don't mind all 3 days washed out.
Okay,
Oh,
but
three
Greg,
days, Tuesday week. Chalo, sahi hai.
but it's
Bilkul,
something
because
what
the point is the core, the intention behind the tournament is in great. So why should fortunes favor
Yeah.
them?
But how much
Hmm.
can we buy into that thing that even our colleague Basta Farida was telling us, Som, the fact that this is such a cash cow fixture, and that's why they've slotted in a reserve day, beg your pardon. And if it doesn't happen, then does it really affect the other boards and playing nations in the Asia Cup?
I mean, the point is you have reserved it only for this and not the other games. Points out to the amount of power other boards have. I mean, I think India Pakistan cricket has become a weird entity. At this point of time, there is absolutely no reason for them to not play bilateral cricket. Uh, I mean, it's. I mean, people might say it's political, but I mean, how is not playing cricket serving anything, right? I mean, you're just devoiding your fans, of some good contests. it's not. It's particularly not good for the sport as well. And yet, you want that game to be there in multinational events. So, I mean, it's borderline hypocrisy. I mean, I'm not. I can't think of a better word right now. In your heart, you want this fixture to be there because it's a cash cow, and yet you don't want to stop. Start playing with them on a not a daily basis, but at a timely basis, because you have to maintain this posturing. Oh, that we are not going to play cricket with them.
Next, it makes you think, right? Because sport, the way I see it, is the best because it brings countries together, nation building. We've seen that over the years, and history proves it. But dare I say, like what Some said, these two should just play more bilateral cricket, or does it just come down to the politics and all of that shebang?
A lot of what we do today is more to do with optics. So that's where I think it's just that there is no
It's just,
no no debate in what you're saying. It's just optics.
it's just optics, and DK going on to agree with you. Basically, Chachad also saying, let's not forget who requested the tournament to Sri Lanka in a monsoon season. I mean, sometimes we just think about it. It should have been played in the UAE, but then sometimes be like, oh no, but that has an advantage to Pakistan. Neela Kandan also going to say tomorrow also we might not get full match. The weather is atrocious. Now, speaking of which, we had our correspondent, Basta Parida, I nearly got his name messed up. Basta Parida, a correspondent, was in Colombo, and he sent us a couple of rain visuals. Just take a look at how it was just before we started the show, and hence the umpires had to call it a day. It just paints you, of course, a picture of how chaotic the weather has been in Sri Lanka of late. And like someone said in the comments, a monsoon season. And it's one of those cricket grounds where it's literally covered with everything, but they certainly couldn't help some of the areas which is definitely plagued with water. Now, I just want to take Jaydeep's question here and throw it to you, gents, because he goes on to say, I think the big positive from the Asia Cup till now has to be our opener's batting performance. I don't want to even think about India versus New Zealand. Dharamshala, good practice against top pace battery of Pakistan. Speaking of New Zealand, you see what they've done to England in the ODI going on right now, and India
But
batters.
But
they still,
yeah,
but from
yeah.
55 for 5, England have posted 226 for 7 at the end of 34 over mark. Liam Livingstone 95 not out of 78 balls. So it's about the first three everywhere, no matter where you go.
But look, I mean, credit to Dhoni and Jadeja who did it for us in that 2019 semi-final, right? We were in a precarious position. They still got us out of the
So that's what it is. It is the same thing with Shaheen, with Bolt, and everybody. You have to play out their best bowlers. If they're coming up top, that's where they are. That's where they are at the most potent best. So play it out. If you get aggressive, you'll get the chance to do far better because 226 for 7, it's a very good recovery from him, 55 for 5.
Absolutely, yeah.
So it just tells you that there is scope, and most teams have their weaknesses. Some teams are just able to hide it better as compared to others.
Okay. Lots of other comments happening, of course. Off-field issues. We'll, of course, just touch upon it right now in this review. I don't want to say review. It's just obviously like a breaking sort of live show that we're having. So Chachad goes on to ask, when are we going to question the BCCI admins over their gross misconduct over the last 3 to 4 years? IPL code mishap, World Cup ticketing problems, etc.
So A, when are we not questioning? And B, who's listening?
Yeah.
Question किसको करना है ये बताओ.
And
we've
also,
been speaking about it, right?
most important point, 2 words. Who cares? They don't.
I mean, it's quite ridiculous because they have the biggest fans in the cricket.
But I mean, the point
fraternity.
is, would the fans ever boycott cricket? Like, we're not going to watch. We're not going to
Never.
buy it. It's never going to happen, right?
Yeah,
So,
they'll
I mean,
always
they know.
they'll always fulfill the stadiums and everything.
The demand is inelastic.
Yeah, for sure. But I mean, it makes me think about this point as well. When they were slotting in the Asia Cup before the World Cup, could they have done this better, Nix? What would have been the ideal scenario for Team India before the World Cup? Where should the Asia Cup have been played Could they have got things right like that? The basics?
See, firstly, I don't think there was as much rain predicted as much as it's come. So again, this is not a prop. I don't think it's not a proper monsoon for Sri Lanka as well. This time of the year is not probably the time where you see a lot of rainfall. So, and I'm sure they care about this far more than you, me, and everybody commenting about the rain dampening, because that is the reason why you have a reserve day. So it just tells you how important the fixture is for them. So they would have definitely looked at this. But again, as I said, a lot of this is optics. You can't play at a venue. B says, I'm more than happy to host. So, and B has been in good relations with both A and C. So, eventually, that's where the tournament goes. Such is, I don't know, cricketing gods, whoever is watching, or eventually taking a call. The good games are done at the start, they go without uninterrupted. But every India game has been marred by rain. So maybe it's just cricketing gods doing justice. And what would be worst is rain during the World Cup, and that would really just sum up entire planning of everything being very 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 short term. That let's look at this now, be it the IPL or ticketing, whatever it is, it's not been long term. Even with the side, you've seen this group hasn't played an ODI, and today also Shreyas Iyer did not play the game, so you are still not playing with your best possible combination. So we are just going to hope that Australia series happens well, because at least there you'll hope that the rain doesn't come in.
Yeah, and then Mohammad Irfan going on to say, why did not ACC consider Bangladesh into Sri Lanka? I'm sure they would have, but then again, there's probably some sort of draw system over there which works, which I'm sure you guys will get more knowledge of it in the AsianCricket.org page. Suchant also going to say, that just like how they have a special reserve day for the India Buck fixture, just a matter of time ICC starts introducing rules that favors India to win the World Cup soon. I don't think it's going to happen. I mean, I hope it does. The way our openers were batting today was brilliant. Let's come back to the on-field chat, guys, because look, the off-field thing, like Som and Nick said rightly, no one cares. At least they don't give a damn what the fans say or what we say. I just want to ask you guys, how will India resume things tomorrow? Kohli on 8, KL on 17, given if it's just a normal sunny afternoon Colombo, is it easy to kind of kickstart your innings 147 for 2? So,
I mean, Kohli has been there for. He has been in this situation for decade, easily a decade, more than a decade, in fact. So I mean, we know what he'll do. He would want, probably from this position, he would want to bat the 50 overs. KL, I mean, after an injury layoff, of course, he would also want to capitalize. India are in a pretty good position from here as well. They would look to score at least 320, if not more, and might be difficult to for Pakistan to chase if at all. The rain is away till the point that Pakistan can come out to chase.
Nick, you think 320 is a realistic target? Because that's a good shout.
Ideally, yes, but I don't think you can look so far ahead given the weather that's around. So I think what they'll probably look at is just in the classic test match way that you take it session by session, you take it phases by phases, that you see what's there for you to take tomorrow, and then you just readjust your targets accordingly. You see what's happening, whether the rain, the water on the makes it has made the outfield slower, whatever it is, the conditions eventually will dictate whether you need 320 or even 280 might be good enough, and how many overs you eventually get, because that is what is going to decide eventually your final score that you're going to defend. So I don't think they should look too far ahead. As Somesh said, take it face. There are roles for everybody to take care of. KL Rahul needs game time, and so does Virat Kohli, who will want to get into the group. So lots of boxes to tick for India, even in the batting front.
And from a Pakistan lens, do you straight away start with Shaheen, Naseem again and treat it like it's new match zone? Because Naseem, Shaheen, and Harris have bowled 5 each, and they're in that middle sort of the mark of the innings. So how would you kind of throw the ball to your bowlers if you were Babar Azam tomorrow?
It's a little tricky because the three pacers have bowled substantially. I think maybe at least the first 4 overs, I still fancy Shaheen Shah and Naseem to bowl, and then maybe they can just come in towards the later half. But it'll be a little tricky to plan. Of course, Shadab will have to finish his over first, And let's see how, depending on how that over goes, maybe they'll opt to continue with spin at one end and have pace at the other. With these two in the middle and Ishan Kishan to follow, I mean, Babar might be tempted to bowl the off spinner as well to get the spin overs out of the way, or maybe Fahim Ashraf's over out of the way.
Yeah, that's true. Next, take this one from Mohammad Irfan because he says resume play next day for India would be disastrous in past both in World Cup and Test match, and advantage for Park because pitch will be moisture, early wicket. Your thoughts basically.
See, we're getting ready for 2-day games. I said this in the past as well that we had a 2-day IPL. IPL final. We have now had a 2-day India Pakistan game, and we could potentially have a 2-day World Cup knockout game as well. Who knows? So always good to have proper match simulation. And if it is tough, as Sumesh said, it's not going to be easy for them also to plan because the majority of the overs of the Pacers have been bowled. So it is going to be tricky for Babar, but the good thing is they have a lot of time to plan it out very well. So as Som said, it'll probably be Shadab finishing his overs and then Fahim bowling at one end with one of the Pacers rotating for a 2 over spell from the other so that they're able to attack also from one end, but also get some overs out because if they bowl the top two bowlers early, India know they just have to play them out because then there is a lot of time left for you to go after the others. So conditions will definitely be tricky. Again, a 3 p.m. starts means the ball should do a bit. So it's a good challenge to have. Seen all said and done, you want to practice as much as you want in a real game scenario, and this is as good as it can get.
Absolutely. Guys, we've spoken about a bunch of things, and rightly so. I just want to talk about Shubman Gill because how important is that 58 or 52 balls, Somesh, for someone like Shubman? Because they were questioning him, Ahmedabad pitch in your pocket, all of that usual nonsense. But has this done him a world of good or what?
There is one stance that I have been maintaining throughout these games that these are not must-win games. It is all about can India draw some lessons from this because this is like high-quality games, not your random bilaterals that you keep playing. And second time in a row with Pakistan, I think it has been a very, very positive game for India. Now talking about Gill, he became the first batter to hit 6 boundaries of Shaheen Shah Afridi, and it just happened in 3 overs. It did not even take him any more than that. So, I mean, I've been constantly saying that for me, Gill is not a lock. This knock sort of tilts it. Of course, I would want to see him sort of scoring those runs on a consistent basis, like what we saw from a peak Dhawan. But I mean, after last innings, he felt a little circumspect, which is unusual. I mean, unusual from him, not unusual for us as viewers, because we have seen a lot of Indian openers being like that when they're put under a little bit of pressure. But then this knock, he played with freedom. There was there was no real caution from his end. I mean, he took his chances. Luck favored him a little later on, but by then he had already played a lot of glorious strokes for us to sort of see his innings in a positive light. So for me, whatever game that happened today in those 24 overs, Gill was the biggest positive of those 24 overs.
Nikhil, you agree?
Yeah. My answer is the same. No difference.
Just on Gill then and how he got out,
Yeah.
would he have been kicking himself 58 or 52? This is an Asia Cup game against your arch rivals. He could have made it count.
Yeah, I think that, as I said, it is something that maybe he wasn't just expecting at all. And that can happen. As Som said, the deception is very, very clever from Shaheen for you to pick. Maybe going, and that's why these games are handy. Because if he then tries it in the World Cup game, Gill will be ready that something like this could come up, and it could come up earlier as well than usual. So I think in that sense, there is a lot more positive to take out. And as Som said, the good thing with Gill that I feel very, very happy about is he's the one guy who's able to cut well. In this side, there aren't too many people who are cutting the ball so well. At times, I actually feel very scared because he's crouching low and still being able to like it's almost like he's playing Fruit Ninja out there. Well, he's so precise with his placement there, which is good because we've seen how that length has also troubled a lot of other batters who are then looking to play straight rather than square. So he's someone who you want to be at the crease because he can take spin on as well. So he's getting there. He's got on out of that out of touch part. He's got a score now. So hopefully in the coming games he's able to have the rhythm that you saw in the Nepal game as well, where he was the way he came down to hit spin also was very good because he was again no half measures, very clear thinking. Also the shot that he played to Shaheen today, I think, was very good to see. When he came down the wicket and went straight, it just tells you the good frame of mind that okay, the plans are very clear. We've practiced this a lot. Let's execute. Yes, he'll want to get a big score, but hopefully it's around the corner. Baby steps towards it.
Yeah, but brilliant stuff from Shubman Gill. And like the boys said, completely agree with them. Pranav, meanwhile, saying it was good captaincy from Babar when he brought Shaheen after the first wicket and second, and Nick generally captains. Yeah, straight away to Kohli, and I observed that as well. Chachant going on to say Gill has slowed down considerably after hitting 40 runs. Do you think acceleration missing towards the end of his innings? Not really, because if you look at how Rohit was playing catch up, I think you needed someone. You can't both go berserk. I mean, I wish they could, but that wasn't happening. And Mohammad Irfan, yeah, we saw that over. Quite ridiculous how Rohit tried to come down the track, I should say, to kind of put Naseem off his length, but it was to no success before it really kind of got and took him apart. But Sanjay makes a good point, so and this is what really brightened my afternoon further. I was like, I think this is the game that Rohit Sharma has told everyone that, look, we're going to go smash it. How much is today's template an ideal case for India? Because you're playing, like you said, not any old bilateral game against Pakistan, and they've, ticked the box.
Yeah, absolutely. It is all about capitalizing on loose balls. I mean, it was half volley on his pads and Rohit smacked it for six. And sort of the tempo was set from there on. Even when Naseem Shah was bowling maidens from the other end, they sort of put Shaheen Shah Afridi on the back foot, and then first change. It's a little arguable where if Babar should have brought in Haris Rauf instead of Fahim Ashraf, but then probably Fahim Ashraf is known a lot more for his movement, and with the new ball, you perhaps would have thought that he will get that movement, but in hindsight, maybe he got it wrong. At that point of time, I thought it's okay, but from an Indian lens, of course, I mean, this is how the openers will have to bat. It won't always come off, and that is where you can recalibrate. But the point is, if openers bat this way and the pitch is a true wicket, which sort of requires a team to post 330, they'll at least have a foundation to do it.
But do you just take Jaydeep's question here before I pass it to Nick's as well? And he states a good example of Butler. Sometimes you just need to counter attack. It's as simple as that, right, Somesh?
And sometimes you need to assess the conditions. I mean, if the ball is not moving, if nothing is happening, you can't just play. You cannot just play the bowler and not the ball. Like I've said, I mean, it's half volley on your pads. You have to put it away. That's the thing. And we have seen time and time again that when it comes to big occasions or facing bowlers that have troubled India in the past, batters usually get stuck and are not their fluid self, which was missing, which was not there today. I mean, they were just attacking, and once you start attacking, I mean, the point is, I mean, I've said this in watch-alongs earlier as well. Something that my father says that जब मारना शुरू होते हैं तो swing होना बंद हो जाती है. That is always the case.
So then, why Nikhil Popat wasn't Haris Rauf brought in early, seeing Shaheen being taken to the cleaners? Asked DK, who is desperate for you to answer this question, by the way.
See, as Som said, it wouldn't have been wrong had he brought him on. But you had the point that Fahim is someone who does get movement with the new ball. And Haris is somebody who's wanting to hit the deck a bit more. Now, if you see, both Rohit and Gill are very good pullers. And while Rohit may get out to the short ball, it is still fraught with this. Of course, I don't think there is any reason for you to not bring him on. But it is just the combination is such that if your lead pacer is being hit right now, and if you get in another guy, and he also goes for runs, then suddenly there will be immense pressure on the likes of Shadab and Fahim, who comes on next to really then stem the flow of runs somehow, because then you can't go to an Iftikhar Ahmed if Shadab Khan is being hit for 19 plus in an over. So it was kind of, I wouldn't say defensive, but he was just trying to maximize what he could get from Fahim. I would have personally also gotten Rauf earlier, maybe for 2 overs, and then you go to Fahim. But I don't think Babar did much wrong, because see, eventually everybody is going to think long term that okay, if I use them now, how am I going to use them in the later stages? Because at this point in time, it's not only that aspect that they're thinking. They're also thinking that I need these guys for later as well. So it's a tricky thing. It's just like the risk reward. First ball, Gill flashes bat at it. Shaheen Shah gets to it. The game is completely different.
Mhm.
And like Pranav Anand says here, Nix, I said that Rohit can take a leaf out of Litton Das's use of feet versus Shaheen. And I think Gil Paji and Nikhil said maybe Gil can do it. It is who's
And
more
that's
used to it. That's what happened.
Mhm.
But yeah, brilliant. Sanjay Papugiri goes on to say Rohit, whenever he plays a sweep, looks to play the spinners, which in tests is much more limited. Yeah, I agree with that as well. Now, I just want to throw to tomorrow quickly before we wrap up. We just have a minute to wrap up. Chachant with an absolute diabolical question. If KL Ishan doesn't score tomorrow, who will get a back spasm in the next game? Oh
We've
my
got the meme,
gosh.
Chichan. Cheers.
Honestly. Okay, but
But
answer this,
sorry,
Tom.
just to add on the
Yeah.
Rohit aspect. Uh, I think Rohit was timing the ball brilliantly today. Uh, the shot that he played of Naseem Shah, that shot, you can just close your eyes and still feel the six was still off the pads. And I am, again, maybe I have a slight bias, more than slight bias, to balls that are hit over cover, because they just put a sense of fear in the bowler that do not miss your length. If you are missing your length, I am not going to take it down lightly. And that shot just makes the bowler fear from going full. So as Som rightly said, when you hit, you have to hit such that the bowler is more fearful of getting wrong, and that will then work for you, because then he'll likely to give you more bad balls maybe.
Yeah, and I think the chat really wants us to answer a couple of plaguing questions on KL and Iyer. So we'll just do that because we love you guys and we're
Yeah,
building this
and
cricket community. So go on, Som.
just to elaborate on Nikhil's point, I mean, look at Shadab Khan. When Rohit
Hmm.
hit him, he was bowling all over the place. He started bowling full
Uh,
tosses. And that one over, when he knew that batters are not going to target him, he just bowled six good balls. And this is precisely what happens. I mean, if he knows that Rohit is going to hit him, he should be bowling good balls. But उस समय पे अच्छी ball नहीं निकलती है हाथ से. Even if you have been around the international circuit for what, 4 years now, more than that. He
Yeah,
was in the 2017 Champions Trophy, so 6 years.
6 years. And in fact, all his expensive overs in ODI cricket had been against India. I think our Statsman put
Yeah.
out something on the website. You guys can check out the live blog and the analysis as well. Right, Somesh and Nikhil, I know it's been over half an hour, and I promise you, this is the last question I'll throw to you guys. Just answer this whole conundrum, yeah, because I don't even know what to say anymore. People are just losing their mind. How would you sum it up in a nutshell? Somesh first, then Nikhil, and then we'll say goodbye and good night.
I just feel it's not a conundrum. India should just lock Kishan, and maybe at every game before the start of every game, they should just toss up between KL and Nair. If all are performing, I mean, that is the only thing you can do. Kishan is a lock because he's the only lefty you have in the top six. If you ask me, I'd play Iyer and Kishan. I think I leave it for Nikhil to answer. Maybe I think Nikhil will pick both Iyer and KL and not Kishan, if I'm not mistaken. But I'm always uncomfortable with six righties, guys. Sorry.
no, I think it is fair. I just feel the recent form is good, but there is something you've planned for this. You've planned so much, and the guys have come good at that spot. So if those players, that is Shreyas and Kale, and here I think the deciding factor should be their rhythm. KL Rahul today looked very good to me. Shreyas Iyer in the short knock that he had versus Pakistan looked very good. So now the point from here till the warm up games is you look at the body language and the comfortability of the player. KL Rahul played two very good pull shots today, something that you'll remember because that is a go to shot for him. It's a shot that he plays very often. And if he's in sync and hitting the ball well, then you have people in rhythm. It is always better to have a guy who is in form as backup with two guys working who are your first preference. So it's a much better position to be in, that if you have three guys, you could rotate among them as well, depending on the situation. The problem with no KL though is I think KL is a better batter versus high pace, at least on paper, as compared to Kishan and Shreyas. So in that regards, I feel KL probably edges them also on the. See, in even let's take the Bangladesh game example. Everybody was struggling, but it was KL Rahul who was. He looked like there is no damage in the pitch, and there are very few people who are able to do it. So if you have a guy who's doing that, and he's looking in good touch, you back him. And then, as Som said, you want to toss, you want to play damsharas, do whatever you want to. But it's still a better headache to have that you have three guys performing, as opposed to say pushing in a Surya Kumar Yadav somewhere that will just go and flurry. I don't think it'll work out with him, but at least with these three, it should work out because they've been doing well.
Yeah, and Kale in particular, I think everyone on Twitter or wherever you guys have seen the game today, on Reddit as well, people are praising Kale and why not. I think exactly today it was understandable as they might have wanted to see Kale ease into the game, and hence they just wanted to see him. He looked really good coming back from an injury, that to a torn quadricep or whatever that was. So look, onwards and upwards, not just Kale Rahul, but this Indian cricket team. Guys, Mama Irfan saying, guys, meme one comment, take that and finish live. Which comment, buddy? Which comment?
I mean, he just saw a meme about Shreyas Iyer. Yeah.
Okay, there we go, Mama. Like this video because we've, of course, taken your comment. And all you boys and girls and the regular cool cats.
Sorry. Avnish, Finn Allen got out.
Finn Allen got out. Yeah, people are going mad, right? Saying David Willey strikes. Yeah. People are going
so
mad.
I mean, just taking the comment from Pranav Anand, there are certain things in the game today, and we know tomorrow, which sort of convinces me that Ishan Kishan is a lock. Because if Ishan Kishan is not a lock, and instead KL Rahul is the one who's locked, Pranav is right. KL should have come at 5 because that's the position that he's been prepared for. And tomorrow, if Kishan is playing, then again it just sort of क्या बोलते हैं ठप्पा लग जाएगा कि हाँ भाई now Kishan is locked because he is the keeper even when KL in the 11, and then they'll play around with KL and Shreyas Iyer.
Okay.
Yeah, and also I think we have a comment from Sanjay which just tells you what Somesh was just saying, that on the sheet KL wasn't mentioned. Iyer was supposed to play, but at the last moment Iyer maybe complained or got the word that there is a back spasm, and so you had KL playing. The only worry here I have is it's not a worry, maybe it's just a confirmation that then Kishan will keep wickets and then KL Rahul plays only as a batter. And then, as we've talked about in the previous it could eventually be a shootout between KL and Shreyas if they're only playing as batters.
Okay. Chachan saying, Somesh, you can never believe about this management unless you have direct connection with Rahul.
He has. He told Shreyas I will not play today. So he has.
He has indeed. Guys, thank you so much for your time. Really, really appreciate this whole post-match, mid-match,
short preview.
pre-reserve
day preview. Wait, day 1 tha, day 2 hai.
Day 1 stumps.
Day 1 review.
Day 1 review. Will be, of course, doing the day 2 preview and review, I think, surely, to just give you a little bit of a perspective and whet your appetite on a Monday. And there's a lot of things to like on cricket.com. Talking about the week ahead, we have a fascinating week. Generally, get with it, guys, because we have kind of curated like a restaurant for you all. Monday Night Live, Tuesday Classics, then you have your Thursday Deep One with the Gilly Cricket. Wednesday is the only kind of plug there, and we're going to do something really cool starting 11th of October. It's going to be called cricket.com Game Nights, and that's going to be something fascinating every Wednesday as well. Features, explainers, you guys know it. So, look. What are you waiting for? Subscribe if you guys are new. And of course, tell a friend about cricket.com. Like this channel and follow Som, Nikhil, and me wherever you guys can on Instagram. It'll be great. Show us some love as well because, look, we work on Sundays. We're hardworking boys. And that's where we do it at cricket.com. Thanks for watching. So goodbye from us. It's been fun, but rain, pain again for India and Pakistan fans.
See you on day 2.